Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the executive and thank you to the officers who are here. And thank you to whoever may be watching us either YouTube live tonight or saving that up for a very special occasion sometime later in the week. We also have some backbenchers here and chairman of the Audit and Governance here. So thank you again very much for coming. We have one apology for absence, Councillor Buttmaster. If you could record that, please. I have no leaders' announcements except to say, please take care in the heat. It is very hot out there. If you know anyone who may be vulnerable, please go and check that they're okay. Keep well hydrated and keep small children, dogs and cats out of the sun. Agenda item 3 is the minutes of the 19th of April. They're on page 6, going through to page 24. I'm very happy to propose these minutes. Can I have a second, please?
I'm happy to second those, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boylan. Agenda item 4 is declarations of interest. Oh, sorry. That's why you sit next to me, isn't it? Thank you, Katie. Right, please, can I ask for a vote on those? All those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? If we now go on to declarations of interest, does anyone have any declaration of interest of councillors who are in the room? I can see none. Thank you very much indeed. Agenda item 5 is the update from Overview and Scrutiny Committee. The chair is not here this evening, but his comments and from his committee have been incorporated into the reports that they reviewed a couple of weeks ago, and we can look at those if necessary. Agenda item 6 is update from Audit and Governance Committee, and we do have the chairman here for that. So, Councillor Pope, do you just wish to say something?
Yes, thank you. The last meeting of the committee was held on the 31st of May. The next meeting will be on the 19th of July. A key point to note from the May meeting is that there is still no visibility regarding when the 2020-21 audit will be concluded, and also when the planning report for the 21-22 audit might be available. I don't know whether any officers have got any update on that, but I suspect there isn't one. So we're still waiting on the auditors for that information. In terms of what we did do at the May meeting, we had some useful training on the role of the internal audit function within the council. We received the annual assurance statement and the internal audit report for 21-22. We looked at the council's strategic risk register for the last quarter of 21-22. The committee received a data protection update, which was a very useful piece of work. And lastly, the committee received a report from internal audit on the next steps accommodation capital grant process. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Pope. That's very helpful as always. And please, can you thank your committee for the work that they do? They take it very seriously. And it is really annoying and in fact really unpleasant that in fact the audit has not yet been completed. But this is happening across the country, isn't it? So I think I'm not sure what else can be done to make it all happen. And I know letters have been written, but obviously fallen on deaf ears. Thank you very much indeed. So agenda item 7 is the annual corporate report on page 25, and Councillor Williamson will be presenting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Well, the annual report covers our achievements across the last year in relation to delivery of our corporate priorities. Position on all the corporate actions are given in the report as Appendix A, and the key performance indicators detailed in Appendix B. I'm not going to go through in detail. It's all there in the report, but it is worth highlighting that a video on the council achievements has been produced. It was shown at the Overview and Scrutiny Committee last month, and it is available to view on the council's website, and it does give a very, very positive story, I think, on what the council has achieved over the last year. I urge you to take a look if you've not yet seen it. We have a single recommendation on page 25 to note the report and to approve for consideration at full council, which I'm pleased to move. Thanks, Leader.
Thank you very much indeed. Are there any comments or questions on this? No, I would like to thank the comms team and who put this together. I think the little video is rather cute and very entertaining. So I think it's it's just a nice way of presenting the data in an easy to digest format. And again, it does demonstrate just the extraordinary work that is going on in this council. Are there any comments or questions from anyone? No. Okay, so it has been put forward by Councillor Williamson. Can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second that, Leader.
Thank you very much indeed. All in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. So we now move on to agenda item 8, which is the Climate Change Strategy 2022 to 2026. And this will be presented by Councillor McAndrew. Graham, please.
Thank you, Leila. I'm very pleased to put in front of the Executive the Council's draft climate change strategy for consideration. As members will know, we already have in place a detailed living sustainability action plan, which is reviewed and published on a monthly basis. This new strategy adds to the action plan by clearly and succinctly laying out the Council's overall vision and approach. Importantly, and unlike many other local authorities' strategies, the East Harts climate change strategy makes clear what the Council is already doing and what changes we will assess between now and 2030 in order to meet the goal in the Council's climate change declaration to become carbon neutral by 2030. The strategy also discusses the main mechanisms for working with partners and local people to achieve carbon neutrality across the whole district by this date. The strategy has been subject to public consultation with 35 respondents, individuals and community groups making well-argued submissions. The analysis of the responses is given in the covering report. Several amendments have been made in the light of the consultation. These are detailed in the covering report. The amended draft was then considered by the Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 21st of June. A series of questions and comments were raised, which I feel demonstrated the committee members' continued engagement with this agenda, for which I am very grateful. Appendix B to the report lists my responses to the points made, including, where I feel appropriate, amending the strategy itself or adding to the actions in the action plan. I believe the strategy as proposed lays out a clear route map for the actions the Council will need to consider as it strives to become a carbon neutral authority by 2030, and lists the ways in which the Council will use its regulatory powers and wider influence to support residents, businesses and others to also become carbon neutral. I therefore recommend that the Executive endorses the strategy and recommends it to Council for approval. There's one recommendation.
Thank you very much, Councillor McAndrew. Does anyone have any comments or questions on this? No. Again, it's an extremely thorough piece of work, and I think we need to thank officers who've obviously taken this to heart, and one can feel the passion that's behind the words, even within a council document. So well done. I think also the important thing is to recognise that this is we are just one council, and particularly in Hertfordshire, all the councils are working very closely together through the HCCSP. And we all have the same ambitions, same aspirations, and the same need and want to get things done. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, the respondents were very grateful for us listening and including some of the points in to the document. Also, the Overview and Scrutiny gratefully accepted that we did that. So yeah, the officers have done an excellent job. under very difficult circumstances. Thank you.
So thank you very much indeed. So Councillor McAndrew, I assume you are proposing this paper? Thank you. May I have a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second, Leader.
That's fantastic. Just before I take the vote, can I ask if there are any other comments or questions on this? No? Okay, all those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? So that's carried. And I think again, I guess this will come back as what, annually to overview scrutiny to make sure the action plan is happening.
Yeah, it actually runs until 2026, but we will be reviewing it, and we're using this as a basis for the living district plan review. There was great emphasis played that we should put some of this into the district plan, unless Jonathan's got anything else to add.
Okay. All right, Jonathan, you're obviously more than welcome to stay. I think you're here for part of the agenda item. I think you're finished now, aren't you? No, yes, you are. Okay, in that case, please have a nice evening at home and enjoy the PIMS. Okay, agenda item 9 is the Castle Park Improvement Project, and we have decided to defer this paper. So we go now to agenda item 10, which is East Herts Council Gypsy Traveller Accommodation Needs Assessment, colloquially called GTANA. So I believe Councillor Goody, if you're presenting this.
Yes, thank you, Leader. In accordance with national legislation and policy, the Council has a duty to plan for a mix of housing that meets the needs of the district's communities, such as provision for older people, affordable housing, and accommodation for gypsy and travellers and travelling show people. As part of these requirements, the Council has produced a new GTANA to update technical evidence on the current and future accommodation needs of the travelling communities in the district. This will replace the now outdated study published in 2016 and strengthen the Council's position in relation to being able to demonstrate identified accommodation needs, assess its 5-year land supply position, and inform discussions with applicants of the relevant key strategic sites. It will influence future policy outcomes and be a material consideration in the determination of future planning applications. Between 2022 and 2037, the revised GTANA identifies a need for 43 pitches for gypsy and traveller households, with 31 of these needed in the first 5 years, 23 plots for travelling show people households, with 16 of those needed in the first 5 years. The Council will need to consider how best to meet the needs identified, and a new strategy for doing so will be identified in due course. A significant number of pitches and plots will be accommodated in some of the strategic housing allocations identified in the adopted district plan 2018. It is very important that pitches are located in the right place, taking into account the needs of both travelling and settled communities. As we take forward, the Council will explore opportunities for community engagement to help establish good relationships. Now, there are 2 recommendations, but does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, not a question. I'm happy to second this. Councillor Goodeve. One of the challenges raised last year in the Eastern Equal strategy that we put out was the discussion with the gypsy and traveller community, which, as we know, is often focused entirely on planning and planning enforcement issues. Well, this document before us tonight allows us to think about the needs of this community for the years ahead, what those needs look like, and importantly, where they might be met in the district. We know that unplanned settlements have been a real concern for our residents in villages and in towns, and the evidence-based approach from now on should help us avoid this happening in the future. ultimately, if we can move a dialogue with the gypsy and traveller community beyond just that of permissions and needs assessments to something more tangible around integration, that will help address community cohesion in the district. I welcome this document, as I think it allows us to move ahead with that.
Thank you, Councillor Kay. I think your comments are extremely valuable and very pertinent to how we need to work as a council with all our residents to be able to understand all our needs. And that's what is important now. So I don't know if officers have anything else they wish to add to that. No. Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from anybody? No. So as Councillor Goodeve has said, there are two recommendations on page 133, A and B. I'm happy to take them both together. All those in favour? And anyone against or abstentions? So that's carried. Thank you very much indeed. So now we go on to agenda item 11, which is the Bishop Stortford Neighbourhood Plan, the new one, the adoption of, and again, I'll pass to Councillor Goodeve. This is on page 222.
Thank you, Leader. The Neighbourhood Planning Act 2017 identifies the process for reviewing made neighbourhood plans. Bishop Stortford Town Council has accordingly undertaken a review of the two neighbourhood plans in the town. The two neighbourhood plans are closely integrated, so have been examined together by one independent examiner. The decisions as to whether the proposed modifications change the nature of the plan is made by the independent examiner. The examiner of the two Bishop Stortford neighbourhood plans decided that the proposed modifications are not material and therefore a referendum is not necessary for either plan. Does anybody have any questions before we move to the recommendations?
Any comments or questions? Again, putting a neighbourhood plan together is not an easy job, and it does involve a great deal of work. And so I think those residents from Bishop Stortford who've been involved in doing this need to be thanked for the time and the diligence that they have engaged in making this going. And also I'd like to thank Laura, who is our specialist officer in neighbourhood plans, for how she's helped this through the system. So thank you very much indeed. And it is important that we have high quality neighbourhood plans because they are part of a material planning consideration for any planning application to come forward. Any other comments or questions? No? So I'm happy. Councillor Goodeve, do you actually formally want to propose, please?
Yes, I shall propose all three recommendations A, B and C.
And I am very happy to second all of them. And again, I will take them on block. So all those in favour? Anyone against? And no abstentions? That's great. So agenda item 12 is transforming East Herts. And this is on page... It's a supplementary. Oh, thank you. Slightly foxed. And Councillor Williamson, can you present this, please?
Indeed, my great pleasure to do so. Thank you, Leader. Members will recall we launched our transformation programme 1 year ago as the king plank of our strategy to enable the council to meet our financial challenges for the medium to longer term as a better alternative to cutting back on frontline services. The report tonight presents the business case for the programme, which has the combined benefits of ensuring a sustainable budget going forward, as well as improving the experience of residents when transacting with the council and producing a more flexible workforce. Our proposals cover empowering our residents to engage with us much more effectively through a customer relationship management system, which will make our customer service processes far more efficient and streamlined to the benefits of residents and the council alike. These proposals will enable those residents who expect to be able to transact with the council online to do so, which has the further benefit of freeing up staff to assist those residents who still require more direct one-to-one support. Alongside the business case, we are also presenting our new commercial strategy, which has been drawn from the commercial work stream, one of the 6 work streams of the Transforming East Herts programme. The strategy aims to embed a new mindset within our teams to consider commercial opportunities in the development and delivery of our services and to provide our staff with the skills to do so. The business case takes us from concept and design of the transformation programme to implementation. It will contribute a major part of the savings we need within the MTFP, 1.95 million of the current forecast of a 2.6 million budget gap. Before I move the recommendations, I think it is worth adding this has been a huge piece of work by the senior leadership team, and I think I'd like to give them our thanks, particularly Helen and Stephen as they're in the, and Sarah being in the room this evening. So I'd like to move the 2 recommendations on page 6 of the supplementary agenda. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I would just reiterate your thanks. This has been an extraordinary piece of work, and it's not even finished yet. This is just another bit on the pathway. So, but it is really important that as a council, we become as commercially aware as we can, but obviously with the focus on everything being for the benefit of our residents. And I think as soon as we are able to get some of these CRMs in place, it will certainly cut down the amount of double entry, which we know is a real waste of everybody's time and must be really frustrating, actually. So are there any comments or questions on this? No? Okay. Oh, sorry, Mark. Yeah, carry on.
Thank you. I must say this is an incredibly impressive piece of work. I must say, I think the officers in particular who are involved in this should be congratulated. But I just want to talk about risk there for a little while, and a lot of this is about changing the council's attitude to risk and maybe encouraging officers to take more risks in a controlled way. I just wondered how sort of these sorts of projects will be scrutinised. Will they be subject to more scrutiny or the same amount of scrutiny that there is now? And also, will there be any effect to the council's strategic risk register as a result of some of these things?
Well, to answer the first point, Mark, the commercial strategy does actually detail a quite sort of strong process for ensuring that any proposals that come forward are examined and scrutinised very carefully. And it's almost like a sort of sieving process to ensure that anything that does get taken forward has been fully vetted. In terms of the strategic risk register, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe something might need to explore, but if there is deemed to be any high risk for the council, then yes, I agree, it ought to be contained within the register.
I don't know if we can ask Helen or Stephen if they want to comment on that, or just if you're happy with the answer that Councillor Williamson's given.
I'm happy with Jeff's answer, but yes, we would put anything that was going to put the council potentially at risk on the risk register, because that way we review it on a regular basis and make sure that we are doing as we said we're going to do. So absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Anything else, Mark? Okay, great. And can I have a seconder, please, for that paper?
I'm very happy to second that, Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Boylan. So there are 2 recommendations on the supplementary document on page 6, and I'm taking both together. All those in favour? No one's against, no abstentions. Thank you very much indeed. If we can now go back to the original document, please, and head for agenda item 13, which is the social value paper. So Councillor Williamson again, please.
Thank you. Well, this is a new policy for the council, and it aims to add social value to our procurement of contracts and services, in addition to the usual elements of quality and price. The policy is emanated from the Public Services Social Value Act of 2012, which requires an authority to consider how what is proposed to be procured might improve the economic, social and environmental well-being of the local area, and how in conducting the process of procurement, we might act with a view to securing that improvement. To deliver this and to give us a basis for scoring the social value elements, we propose to adopt the National Social Value Measurement Framework, which uses themes, outcomes and measures, or TOMS for short. And those we are putting forward to be incorporated in our policy are given with Appendix A of the report. Those others on the framework for reference are listed separately in Appendix B. In order to monitor how well we are embedding social value into procurement, we can measure ourselves against the Social Value Maturity Index, and this is explained in Appendix C. As this is new for us, we are starting from a zero position, but the index provides a means of mapping progress towards a more advanced position. I believe this is a positive win-win position, in that the policy helps us to deliver extra benefits for residents when undergoing procurement exercises, and I'm therefore pleased to move the 4 recommendations on pages 550 going over to page 551. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. And I see you've now got another title, haven't you? Your lead member for social value. So there we go.
Can't get enough time.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question, which obviously we are going into a sort of co-op consortium with which will be led by Stevenage on this. How many other districts and boroughs are there involved in this across Hertfordshire? Anyone know?
Councillor Hazy, we are in a shared procurement service with Stevenage Borough Council and Hertfordshire Borough Council. The offer that Stevenage has negotiated for the social value portal is for all 10 borough and districts and for the county council.
So ultimately, we hope that all 11 of us will be within it. Okay, great. Thank you very much indeed. Are there any other comments or questions on this?
Just that I'm happy to second it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Another interesting and good piece of work which will benefit our residents. So thank you very much indeed for putting this together, Stephen. All those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? And no abstentions. That's great. Agenda item 14 is on page 575. Ripper. Councillor Cutting, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader. The Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act regulates the manner in which certain public bodies, including local authorities, may conduct surveillance and access a person's electronic communications. The Council is required to have suitable arrangements and an up-to-date RIPA policy in place. This report updates the Council's current use of RIPA and reports on a minor change to the policy since it was last reviewed. The current policy was last approved by the Executive on the 7th of July 2020, updated together with the social media and investigations policy at the same time. A minor change to the policy is required in line with paragraphs 2.4 and 2.7, sorry, 2.4 to 2.7 in the report. However, the current policy remains fit for purpose in all other regards. There have been no new RIPA authorisations since the last annual report went to overview and scrutiny on the 8th of June 2021. I therefore propose recommendations A and B on page 575 of the report.
Thank you very much indeed. And a seconder, please.
I'm very happy to second, Leader.
Excellent. Do we have any comments or questions on this? Again, it's a statutory requirement that it is the document is just kept up to date. So it's important that we do take these responsibilities very seriously. All those in favour? Anyone against? No abstentions? I don't believe we have any urgent business. In that case, we close the meeting at 19:29, and thank you to all of you for your contributions this evening. Thank you.